Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Menachem Creditor. It's my honor to serve as scholar in residence and rabbi for UDA Federation of New York. We bring you Torah and music blessing and community every weekday. We've been doing so since March 18th, 2020. Today is Wednesday, March 13th, 2024. Just about 4 years of coming together every single day to learn Torah. It's broadcast 1012, and it is day 159 since October 7th. It's good to see all of you here, friends. Let's greet everyone by name as we have been blessed to do for just about 4 years, and let's learn some Torah together. Rosa, good to see you. Rose, good to see you. Chana and Deborah, Arlene and Penny, good to see everybody. Adele, hope that you're well. Katie, Janice, Anya and Barry, Keith, Boker Tov, Lydia, Catherine, good morning, good evening, good midnight. Catherine, I know I've said it a bunch of times. Holy cow, it's so beautiful that we get to share community. What a commitment you have shown to our community to be here at the craziest of hours every single day. You bless us. Natalie, good morning, glad things are better. Cecile and Joanne, Andy and Helen, Peter, Boker Tov, sending love to Frankfurt, Germany. Really touched to have you here, my friend. April, Andy and Joanne, Boker Tov, Arlene and Michelle, good to see everyone. Yes, Arlene, I will say something about that. Penny and Ron and Ashley, Boker Tov, good morning, friends. Let's take a breath, sing a blessing, learn some Torah today. Here we go. Hi, everybody. Hope that you and yours are safe and well. This week we read Parshat Pekudei, the final Torah portion in the book of Exodus, and among the things that really stand out is the very ending. You see, the last quarter or so of the entire book has been focused with the construction of the Mishkan, of the temple, the portable tabernacle that we built in the desert while traveling. And the descriptions have been dense and immense and repetitive. But in this week's Torah portion, we complete the work. And so I guess what stands out is we did it. We created the Mishkan according to the correct dimensions with the right materials. And you know that it works because the description of the text is explicit. The cloud of God, which is another way of saying God's physical presence, as weird as that is to say, the text says it very explicitly, that the cloud of God descended and filled the Mishkan. Now, let's offer this in honor. Let's see what we just got. Sandy, your sister, is celebrating her bat mitzvah this weekend at 65. So let's dedicate today's Torah learning to your sister. Mazel tov to her. We know that the dedication of the Mishkan works because God's cloud descends, and then the text says, fills the Mishkan, fills the tent, so much so that Moses could not find his way in. And in fact, I want to use that text for a moment. I've taught it many times. Moses couldn't get in to the place that he had dedicated so much time and effort and leadership and heartache to build. In fact, it's understood by many that the Mishkan was there as an antidote to the golden calf. So it also represents Moses' attempts to rehabilitate the people, and the people's commitment to be rehabilitated. But what must it have felt like to be Moses? To be unable to enter a space that he deserved to be. He deserved to be in, to call home. Deborah, happy birthday to your sister Chaya. What must it have felt like to be Moses? To have dedicated so much work, and for life to be so unfair, he couldn't even step into the holy space that he had marshaled all of these resources to create. Before I think out loud about a possible answer to that question or ways of thinking about it, I want to point out, as Arlene did just a moment ago, that today, March 13th, is exactly 4 years after the declaration that COVID-19 was a pandemic. 4 years ago today, the world turned on its head. I want to stand on that with you for a moment, because so much has changed since then. And there has been some time since the densest part of the pandemic, and so for some of us, we've already blocked out some of those memories. It's really important, and Torah is a gift in this way too, to mark the passage of time, to say this is the 4th time as a community that we are going through this Torah portion. We've completed the Torah cycle because we began last week's Parsha Vayakhel 4 years ago. 4 years, friends. And so what I want to do before thinking out loud about the Mishkan is the portable tabernacle that we build in the desert. Before I think about that and Moses' place within it, I actually want to hold the space, much in the way that the Mishkan did for us, to stand in our memory and to know that we have built something successfully. It worked. We've built a world that survived a pandemic, and not all of us survived. We lost very many precious people. Our relationships were altered forever. We created things, certainly, but it's been 4 years since the world declared a pandemic. And so it is really important, friends, for us to honor that, to honor ourselves for having gone through that, to stand confused about the world that we have experienced and shared and traversed and navigated and struggled with for the last 4 years. I just want to bring our attention to a few points within that. The debate about whether or not to act responsibly toward my neighbor by staying home, that was where we began that conversation. It was really hard to talk about. It was really hard to do. But that was one of the responsible actions we took, to wear a mask. Now, we have learned a lot about whether or not it prevented other people from getting the disease. But when you think you can do something to help someone, you must do that something to help someone. In fact, in halacha, in Jewish law, we call that safek nefashot. If it's possible that this action could be dangerous, you are not allowed to do it. If it's possible, which is why in a legal response in Jewish tradition about smoking, Rabbi David Golinkin writes that even safek nefashot lechumra, even if it's doubtful that what you do could hurt someone else, we are very strict about saying, no, you cannot do it. We stayed home, we socially isolated. Shuls shut down, churches, everything shut down. We stayed home, we masked. And we prayed for a vaccine, and then when it came out, some politicians politicized it and confused people with misinformation. And still, the majority of Americans now are vaccinated. We aren't all up to date. Those rates are not great. But the very birth of this vaccine, these vaccines, changed us again. Nothing is simple. Nothing is simple. But we owe ourselves and our future descendants the obligation just to sit for a moment in this memory and to try to remember the lessons that we learned. We do not take for granted what it is to be present. Yes, as Bob said, let me just read what you wrote, Bob. We must honor the scientists, doctors, nurses, as well as the essential workers who allowed us to contain the spread of the evolving COVID-19 pandemic. And Linda writes, our doctors told us to get revaccinated this fall. 5th shots. I got one too. You remember that the essential workers we talked about were those who stocked the shelves with food, who risked their lives so that we could have food? You remember the standing online to go into grocery stores, and then when you got into grocery stores having arrows telling you where you could walk? Do you remember thanking people who collect the garbage and the recycling because they showed up and somehow our world continued working, functioning? We didn't all shut down. And in fact, when we said essential workers and we thanked them for their work, we were talking not only about emergency workers and researchers and nurses and doctors. We were also talking about people who did not have the choice to stay home and work remotely. The inequalities that were already present in society then got worse during the pandemic for many. The reason why I bring all of this into our minds is, number one, this is the 4th anniversary of COVID being declared a pandemic. This is a day. We remember this day. We began broadcasting on March 18th, 5 days from now. 4 years ago, 5 days from now. And what I want to say as well is that just like Moses deserved the chance to inhabit the space that he called home, we had always, everyone had always deserved the right, the freedom, the possibility of being out in the world. Now, in the text, God fills up the space so much that Moses can't get in. And why might that be? Why might that be? And let me offer a thought. Moses couldn't get in. What if he had been able to get in? The Mishkan, the tabernacle, belonged to the people. It was in fact constructed of the precious things from all of the people. What would it have felt like for the people had Moses been able to go in and they would have been out there? When leaders separate themselves from the people, in the people's moments of transition or distress, what does that mean about their leadership? To be with people, to truly love people. That's the mark of a real leader. And Moses, for all of his leadership, perhaps, and this is a comment about the text, not the text itself speaking, perhaps Moses needed to be pushed back to the people. In fact, when Moses is receiving the Torah, you might know this phrase, God says, Lech red, go get down. You must be with the people. Yes, Rose, a Mishkan is a tabernacle. I'll share a story about Rabbi Abram Joshua Heschel and Rabbi Mara Shapiro, both of blessed memory. Rabbi Heschel was already in the United States for some time, had gained a real reputation as a scholar and a civil rights leader. And Rabbi Mara Shapiro was a survivor of the Shoah. He'd studied in Yeshivat Chochmei Lublin, very, very famous yeshiva in Poland. And he was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And he wrote a letter to Abraham Joshua Heschel saying, please come teach my community for a Shabbos. Come visit. And Heschel said in a response telegram, I'm too busy, I'm so sorry, I can't. And Rabbi Shapiro wrote 2 words. to Abram Joshua Heschel. Lech Raid. Go. Get down. Step down off your pedestal and be with the people. Moses was perhaps the greatest leader we have ever had, but even he couldn't get in. Because perhaps getting in also means stepping away, stepping into a tower, stepping in a rarefied place, and not being with the people. We are called, friends, to be a united human race. Now, in this moment of Jewish history, that requires Jews standing up and saying, we count too. We are human too. But in this week's Parsha, we have a global message of what it is to be a person. To be a person is to be with people. In this moment, we are saying, and remember, friends, we must demand the right to be seen as such. Those are two impulses. And I wish us strength as we navigate this very complicated moment. Perhaps we can gain wisdom and humility and a sense of urgency when it comes to the work that we are doing on behalf of our people, and as UJA and the rest of us continue to do our work on behalf of all people. We are not slowing down our commitment to human dignity for the most vulnerable people in the world. That's who we are. We believe in this. We are not going to stop believing in it just because we're being forced to defend our right to be. But what I want to wish us along the way is a recognition that we are called to actually be with people, to be with all people. Please, God, our children, our babies, our grandparents, our young men, our young women should be home now. Those young people fighting for our homeland right now should be safe, should accomplish their work, and come home to the families who love them so much. And we need to have more space even than the Mishkan did. We need to open our hearts. We really do. To the needs of this moment, to the needs of our people, to the needs of the world. We have to grow as big, perhaps, as God's cloud demanded, so that there will be room for everyone in our sukkah, in our Mishkan, in our tabernacle. Because from the destruction of the temple, according to tradition, the Beit HaMikdash, the Holy of Holies, was relocated to the human heart. We have to have enough room here. This Parsha reminds us that we haven't always. So let's open our hearts, calling out so that our people know how loved they are. Let's sing Hatikva, friends. Let's make our way into this moment, knowing that our deepest hope, our tikva, is liot am chovshi be'artzenu, to be a free people in our land, so that we can be an or lagoyim, a light to the nations. We must, of course, first demand the right to be. And with that thriving energy of being alive as a people, let's remember that we're supposed to be a gift to the entire world. Here we go. Kolon baleva penima nefesh Yehudi homia ulefate mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia Od lo avda tikvatenu Hatikva bat shnot alpayim Liot am chofshi be'artzenu Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim Liot am chofshi be'artzenu Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim. Bring them home now. Am Yisrael Chai. See you tomorrow, friends. Take care, everybody.